Hello, and welcome to our comprehensive journey into the career of a tax preparer in the United States. If you've ever wondered about the professionals who navigate the intricate maze of tax codes, or if you're perhaps considering this vital profession as a career path yourself, you have come to the right place. Over the course of this series, we will explore the duties, challenges, and rewards of this dynamic field.
Disclaimer: this video is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional legal, financial, or tax advice. I am not a certified public accountant, CPA, or a tax attorney. You should consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to your individual situation. Tax laws are complex and subject to change. The creator of this video or the channel will not be held liable for any actions taken based on the information provided.
In this first chapter, we will lay the groundwork by answering the most fundamental question: what exactly does a tax preparer do? At its most basic level, a tax preparer is a professional who calculates, prepares, and files income tax returns for individuals, businesses, and other organizations. Think of them as a translator, fluent in the complex language of the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, as well as state and local tax authorities. Their primary function is to ensure that their clients accurately report their financial information in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. This helps clients avoid penalties for errors or late filings, and ensures they meet their legal obligations as taxpayers. However, the role of a tax preparer extends far beyond simple data entry and form completion. A truly skilled preparer acts as a financial detective and a strategist. They meticulously review a client's financial records, including income statements, expense reports, and investment summaries, to get a complete picture of their financial situation. This detailed analysis allows them to identify every potential deduction and tax credit their client is legally entitled to claim. From the student loan interest deduction for a recent graduate to the child tax credit for a growing family, or depreciation for a business's equipment, the preparer's goal is to legally minimize the client's tax liability. This process is not about finding shady loopholes. It's about expertly applying the existing tax code to the client's specific circumstances. The world of tax preparation is incredibly diverse because no two taxpayers are exactly alike. A preparer's daily work can vary dramatically depending on their clientele. One day, they might be helping a salaried employee with a straightforward W-2 form and a few itemized deductions. The next, they could be working with a freelance artist who has multiple sources of income, complex business expenses, and needs to manage self-employment taxes. They might also serve small business owners, helping them navigate payroll taxes, sales tax, and the unique tax implications of their corporate structure, whether it's an LLC, an S-corp, or a sole proprietorship. Some preparers even specialize in highly complex areas like international tax for citizens living abroad, estate and trust taxes, or the specific tax laws governing nonprofit organizations. Each specialty requires a unique and deep set of knowledge. To succeed in this field, a tax preparer must possess a distinct set of skills. Obviously, a strong aptitude for numbers and an analytical mind are essential. They must be incredibly detail-oriented, as a single misplaced decimal point or an overlooked form can have significant consequences for their client. But the technical skills are only half of the equation. A great tax preparer is also an excellent communicator. They need to be able to ask the right questions to uncover all relevant financial information, and be able to explain complicated tax concepts in a way that clients can easily understand. Building trust is paramount. Clients are sharing their most sensitive financial data, and they must have complete confidence in their preparer's integrity, discretion, and commitment to confidentiality. Finally, it is crucial to understand that the tax landscape is in a constant state of change. Congress passes new legislation, the IRS issues new regulations, and court rulings continually reshape the interpretation of the tax code. A significant and ongoing part of a tax preparer's job is to stay current with these developments. This requires a firm commitment to continuing education, whether through formal courses, professional seminars, or diligent self-study. A preparer's knowledge must be as up-to-date as the laws they are applying. Before we conclude, it is essential to state the purpose and limitations of this audio series. The information provided here is for educational and informational purposes only, and is intended to offer a general overview of the tax preparation profession. It is not, and should not be construed as financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Tax laws are complex, and an individual's financial situation is unique. Therefore, you should always consult with a qualified, licensed, and credentialed professional before making any decisions based on your specific circumstances. Thank you for joining us for this introductory chapter. we've defined the fundamental role of a tax preparer as a vital navigator in the world of finance. In our next chapter, we will delve into the different types of tax preparers, from enrolled agents to certified public accountants, and explore the various paths you can take to enter this challenging and rewarding profession. Welcome back to our series on the career of a tax preparer in the United States. In our first chapter, we define the fundamental role of a tax preparer as a professional who helps individuals and businesses navigate the complexities of the tax system. Now, it's time to explore the fact that not all tax preparers are the same. The field is composed of professionals with varying levels of training, different credentials, and distinct areas of expertise. In this chapter, we will demystify the titles you often hear, from enrolled agents to CPAs, so you can understand the landscape of the profession. At one end of the spectrum are preparers who may not hold a specific professional credential from a licensing body, but are still authorized to prepare tax returns. These individuals are often referred to as unenrolled or uncredentialed preparers. To operate professionally, they must obtain a Preparer Tax Identification Number, or PTIN, from the IRS. Many of these preparers participate in the IRS's annual filing season program, which is a voluntary program designed to encourage tax return preparers to stay current on tax laws through continuing education. While they provide a valuable service for many taxpayers with straightforward returns, their practice rights are limited. Specifically, they can only represent clients whose returns they prepared and signed, and only before revenue agents, customer service representatives, and similar IRS employees. They cannot represent clients in more complex matters before the IRS Office of Appeals, for example. Moving up in terms of practice rights and required expertise, we have the enrolled agent, or EA. This is the highest credential the IRS itself awards. Enrolled agents are federally licensed tax practitioners who have demonstrated special competence in tax matters. To become an EA, an individual must either pass a comprehensive three-part examination covering individual and business tax returns, as well as representation, practices, and procedures. Alternatively, an individual who has worked for the IRS for at least 5 years in a position that regularly interpreted and applied the tax code may become an EA without taking the exam. What truly sets enrolled agents apart is their unlimited practice rights before the IRS. This means they can represent any taxpayer, whether they prepared their return or not, on any tax matter, including audits, collections, and appeals. Because their license is granted by the federal government, an enrolled agent's practice rights are not limited by state lines. They can represent clients in any U.S. state or territory. EAs are required to complete 72 hours of continuing education every 3 years to maintain their active status, ensuring they remain up to date on the ever-changing tax code. Next, we have certified public accountants, or CPAs. A CPA is an accountant who has met rigorous state-level requirements for education, experience, and examination. The specific requirements vary by state, but they generally involve completing 150 semester hours of college coursework, more than a standard bachelor's degree, passing the demanding 4-part uniform CPA examination, and accumulating a certain amount of verified professional experience. CPAs are licensed and regulated by their respective state boards of accountancy. While CPAs are known for a wide range of services, including auditing, business consulting, and financial planning, many also specialize in taxation. Like enrolled agents, CPAs have unlimited practice rights and can represent their clients on any matter before the IRS. Their broad business and financial accounting background often makes them particularly well-suited for handling complex business returns and providing strategic tax planning for corporations and high-net-worth individuals. They, too, must adhere to strict continuing education requirements to maintain their license. Finally, there are tax attorneys. A tax attorney is a lawyer who specializes in tax law. To become one, an individual must first earn a bachelor's degree, then graduate from law school with a Juris Doctor degree, and finally, pass their state's bar examination. Many tax attorneys also go on to earn a Master of Laws in Taxation, known as a Master of Laws, which provides even more specialized knowledge. Tax attorneys have unlimited practice rights before the IRS, just like EAs and CPAs. Their unique qualification, however, is the ability to represent clients in a court of law, such as the U.S. Tax Court. This makes them indispensable in situations involving tax litigation, criminal tax investigations, or complex legal disputes with the IRS or state tax authorities. They provide legal advice, draft legal documents, and offer representation where attorney-client privilege is a critical consideration. It is important to remember that this overview is for informational purposes. The descriptions of these professional roles are intended to provide a general understanding of the tax preparation field. This information is not legal or financial advice, and should not be interpreted as a recommendation of one type of professional over another. The choice of a tax professional depends entirely on an individual's or business's specific needs and circumstances. In summary, the field of tax preparation includes a wide range of professionals, from unenrolled preparers with IRS-issued TINs to federally licensed enrolled agents, state-licensed CPAs, and bar-admitted tax attorneys. Each has a different path of education and testing, and each is granted different rights to practice before the IRS. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will explore the day-to-day responsibilities and the typical busy season that defines the life of a tax preparer. Welcome back. In our previous chapters, we established what a tax preparer does and explored the different professional credentials they can hold. Now we move from the what to the how. What does the daily work of a tax preparer actually look like? The answer is not a simple one, because a preparer's year is typically split into two very distinct and dramatically different periods: the intense, high-stakes busy season, and the more varied, strategic off-season. In this chapter, we will walk through the calendar year of a tax professional. Let's begin with the period that defines the profession in the public eye: the busy season. Generally running from early January through the mid-April tax filing deadline, this is an all-hands-on-deck sprint. A typical day during this time starts early and often ends late. The primary focus is singular: preparing and filing accurate tax returns for a high volume of clients before the deadline. The day is a meticulously organized flow of client documents, data entry, and review. A preparer's morning might begin by organizing the client files that came in the previous day, both physically and digitally. This involves sorting W-2s, 1,099 forms, receipts for deductions, mortgage interest statements, and brokerage reports. The preparer must ensure all necessary documentation is present. If anything is missing, the first task is to contact the client. Clear, concise communication is critical to keep the process moving. The middle of the day is consumed by the core task of tax preparation. Using specialized professional software, the preparer translates the client's raw financial data onto the official tax forms. This is a process that demands intense focus and concentration. Every number must be correct, and every entry must be placed on the proper line. Throughout the day, a preparer is constantly switching between analytical and interpersonal roles. 1 hour they might be deep in a complex calculation for a small business's asset depreciation. The next, they are on a phone call with a client, patiently explaining why they don't qualify for a particular tax credit. The afternoon may involve a final review process. Many firms have a multi-tier review system, where a return prepared by one professional is checked by a senior colleague to minimize errors. The day often concludes with preparing returns for electronic filing and communicating the results, either a refund or a tax due amount, to clients. During these few months, the pace is relentless, and the ability to manage stress and stay organized is just as important as technical tax knowledge. Then suddenly the April filing deadline passes. For many people, taxes disappear from their minds, but for the tax preparer, the work simply changes. Welcome to the off-season. This period is anything but a long vacation. It's a time for different but equally important tasks. One of the first orders of business is managing extensions. Many clients, particularly those with complex business or investment income, file for an extension, which pushes their filing deadline to October. The summer months are often spent completing these more intricate returns. The off-season is also the prime time for proactive tax planning. This is where a preparer's role evolves from a historian, documenting last year's finances, to a forward-looking strategist. They might meet with clients to discuss major life events, like a marriage, the birth of a child, or a new home purchase, and analyze how these events could impact the next year's tax situation. For business clients, this is a crucial time to plan for major equipment purchases, review retirement plan contributions, and project year-end profitability to manage their tax obligations effectively. Furthermore, the off-season is when the IRS and state agencies begin sending out notices. A preparer may spend time responding to these letters on behalf of their clients, clarifying information, or providing additional documentation. Should a client face an audit, their preparer will spend considerable time gathering records and representing them before the tax authorities. Finally, this period is vital for professional development. Tax professionals use this time to attend seminars, take courses on new tax legislation, and research complex tax issues. It's their chance to sharpen their skills and deepen their knowledge, ensuring they are ready for the next busy season. As always, This description of a tax preparer's work is for educational purposes. It is a general overview and is not intended as financial or legal advice. So while the busy season is a high-pressure sprint focused on compliance, the off-season is a marathon of planning, representation, and education. Both are essential to providing comprehensive service and building a successful career in the field. Thank you for joining us. In our next chapter, we'll dive into the essential tools of the trade, from the sophisticated software to the research databases that modern tax professionals rely on every day. Welcome back to our series on the career of a tax preparer in the United States. In the last chapter, we explored the annual rhythm of a preparer's life, from the intensity of the busy season to the strategic work of the off-season. Now let's look inside their workshop. Modern tax preparation is a blend of human expertise and powerful technology. Success in this field relies on using the right tools for the job. In this chapter, we will uncover the essential toolkit of a tax professional, focusing on 3 key areas: preparation software, research resources, and data security. First and foremost is the professional tax preparation software. This is far more sophisticated than the consumer-grade software an individual might buy off the shelf. Professional software is the central hub of a preparer's workflow, designed to handle a high volume and a wide variety of complex tax situations. These platforms contain extensive libraries of federal, state, and even local tax forms, from the common Form 1040 to highly specialized forms for corporations, partnerships, and estates. The software automates complex calculations, carries data from one form to another, and helps to ensure consistency throughout a return. One of the most critical features of professional software is its diagnostic capability. As a preparer enters data, the software often runs thousands of checks in the background, flagging potential errors, inconsistencies, or omissions. It might, for example, alert the preparer if an entry seems unusually high or low based on other information in the return, or if a required form is missing. This acts as a digital safety net, helping the professional catch mistakes before a return is filed. Furthermore, these platforms are directly integrated with the IRS's e-filing system, which allows for the secure and efficient transmission of completed returns. This technology is the engine that powers the modern tax practice, enabling both accuracy and efficiency. The second cornerstone of the preparer's toolkit is their library of research resources. As we've discussed, tax law is not static. It changes every year. A preparer's knowledge must be constantly refreshed, and they cannot possibly memorize every line of the tax code. This is where research tools become indispensable. The most fundamental resource is the Internal Revenue Service's own website, irs.gov. It is a vast repository of official tax forms, detailed instructions, and hundreds of publications that provide the agency's official guidance on specific tax topics. For more complex issues, professionals turn to specialized tax research databases. These are powerful online platforms that contain the full text of the Internal Revenue Code, Treasury regulations, IRS rulings, and influential tax court cases. Think of it as a comprehensive digital law library focused solely on taxation. A preparer can use these databases to find the legal authority supporting a specific tax position, understand how the IRS has interpreted a gray area of the law, or analyze how courts have ruled on issues similar to their client's situation. These tools are absolutely critical for providing well-supported and accurate tax work, especially for complex business or investment scenarios. This commitment to continuous research is a hallmark of a true professional. The third, and arguably most important, component of the toolkit involves data security. Tax preparers are entrusted with an immense amount of their clients' most sensitive personal and financial information. This includes social security numbers, bank account details, income figures, and investment data. Protecting this information is not just good business practice, it is a legal and ethical obligation. The IRS has specific requirements for all professional tax preparers to create and maintain a written information security plan, often called a WISP. This plan outlines the specific administrative, technical, and physical safeguards the preparer has in place to protect client data. This includes using secure computer networks with firewalls, encrypting sensitive files both in the office and when sent electronically, and implementing strong password protocols. It also involves physical security measures, like locking file cabinets and securing the office space. Preparers must also be vigilant against phishing scams and other forms of cyber attacks that specifically target tax professionals. A breach of data can have devastating consequences for clients, making robust security a non-negotiable part of the job. As a reminder, This overview of the tools used in the tax profession is for educational purposes only and does not constitute an endorsement of any specific software, product, or security protocol. In conclusion, the modern tax preparer is a knowledgeable professional armed with a sophisticated toolkit. They leverage powerful software for efficiency and accuracy, rely on extensive research databases to navigate the complex tax code, and are bound by a critical duty to maintain rigorous security to protect their clients' sensitive information. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will focus on the client relationship, exploring the communication skills and ethical considerations involved in building trust and providing excellent service. Welcome back. In our journey so far, we have defined the tax preparer's role, their qualifications, their annual workflow, and the tools they use. But a tax practice is built on more than just technical skill and software. It's built on a foundation of human trust. In this chapter, we will explore the two pillars that support this foundation: effective client communication and unwavering ethical conduct. Let's first discuss communication. A tax preparer's relationship with a client often begins with an initial consultation or interview. This is a critical information gathering phase. The preparer's job is to create a comfortable environment where the client feels open to sharing the details of their financial life. A professional will ask a series of structured questions to understand the full picture. These questions typically cover topics like marital status, dependents, sources of income, major life changes during the past year, such as buying a home or changing jobs, and potential deductible expenses like educational costs or medical bills. This is not just a checklist, it's a conversation. Active listening is a key skill here, as a client's casual mention of an event could be the clue to a significant tax deduction or credit. Once the return is prepared, the communication shifts to explaining the results. This can be a delicate task. If a client is receiving a large refund, the conversation is straightforward. But if the client owes a significant amount of tax, the preparer must deliver the news with clarity and empathy. They will walk the client through the return, explaining in simple, jargon-free language how the final number was calculated. They might point to specific factors, such as an increase in income or changes in tax law, that led to the tax liability. The goal is to ensure the client understands their tax situation and feels confident in the accuracy of the work performed. This clear communication demystifies the process and solidifies the client's trust. The second, and most critical, pillar is ethics. The entire tax preparation profession is governed by a strict code of conduct. In the United States, the primary source for these rules is a document from the U.S. Department of the Treasury, known as Circular 230. This regulation establishes the standards that all tax professionals, including enrolled agents, CPAs, and attorneys, must follow when practicing before the IRS. One of the core principles outlined in Circular 230 is the duty of due diligence. This means a preparer must take reasonable care to ensure the accuracy of everything they submit to the IRS. They cannot simply accept a client's numbers at face value if the information appears incorrect, inconsistent, or incomplete. Due diligence requires the preparer to ask follow-up questions to confirm the facts and, when necessary, request documentation to support the figures on a tax return. This standard protects the integrity of the tax system and the client. Another non-negotiable ethical duty is confidentiality. As established in the tax code, specifically Internal Revenue Code Section 7216, a tax preparer is strictly prohibited from disclosing a client's tax return information to any third party without the client's explicit, written consent. This rule is taken extremely seriously, with significant penalties for violations. This legal protection ensures that clients can share their private financial data with the confidence that it will be used for one purpose only: the preparation of their tax return. Finally, tax professionals have an ethical obligation to avoid conflicts of interest and to act with integrity. They must represent their clients competently and diligently. If a preparer makes an error, they have a duty to promptly inform the client of the mistake and advise them on the potential consequences. This entire ethical framework is designed to ensure that tax preparers serve the best interests of their clients while upholding their responsibilities to the tax system as a whole. Please remember, this overview of communication techniques and ethical standards is for educational purposes. It is a general description of professional practice and does not constitute legal or financial advice. In essence, the relationship between a client and a tax preparer is a professional partnership built on clear communication and a rigid ethical code. Technical knowledge gets the return filed, but it is this human element that builds a lasting and successful career. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will shift our focus to the business side of the profession, exploring how a tax preparer finds clients and builds a practice. Welcome back. In our last chapter, we delved into the human element of tax preparation, the critical importance of communication, trust, and ethics. Building on that foundation, we now turn our attention to the business side of the profession. After all, a tax preparer, whether working for a large firm or for themselves, is part of a business that needs clients to thrive. In this chapter, we will explore the different employment models and describe the common methods professionals use to build and sustain a successful practice. First, it's important to understand that there isn't one single career path. Many preparers begin by working for an established organization. This could be a large, national tax preparation company with household name recognition. In this environment, a new preparer often receives structured training and is provided with a steady flow of clients during tax season. This path can be an excellent way to gain experience and learn the fundamentals of the business. Another common path is to join a small local accounting or CPA firm. This setting might offer exposure to more complex returns and a chance to build deeper, year-round relationships with a smaller number of business and individual clients. The third path is entrepreneurship, starting a solo tax practice. This route offers the greatest autonomy and flexibility, but also carries the full responsibility of running a business, which includes not just preparing taxes, but also marketing, administration, and technology management. Regardless of the path chosen, the challenge remains the same. How does a preparer attract and retain clients? Building a client base is a gradual process that relies on visibility and reputation. One of the most foundational methods is networking. This involves building professional relationships within the local business community. A tax preparer might join a local chamber of commerce or other business groups. These activities allow them to meet small business owners and other professionals. The goal of this networking is not direct selling, but to become a known and trusted resource in the community, so that when a need for tax services arises, their name comes to mind. In the digital age, a professional online presence is also essential. Most tax practices, even very small ones, have a professional website. This serves as a digital business card, outlining the preparer's qualifications, the types of services they offer, and their contact information. Some professionals also use social media platforms to establish their expertise. They might share general, informational articles about tax law changes, or post reminders about important deadlines. The key here is to share information that is educational in nature, not to provide specific advice, which helps to build credibility and visibility online. However, even with modern marketing methods, the most powerful engine for growth in this profession has always been word-of-mouth referrals. This links directly back to the topics of our previous chapter: competence and trust. When a preparer does excellent work, communicates clearly, and operates with integrity, clients are naturally inclined to recommend their services to friends, family, and colleagues. A referral is a powerful endorsement because it comes with a pre-established layer of trust. Many successful practices are built almost entirely on the strength of these positive recommendations from satisfied clients. Acquiring a client is just the beginning. Retaining them is just as important. Client retention is built on the continuation of the principles that attracted the client in the first place. This involves proactive communication, not just during the busy season, but throughout the year. It means being available to answer questions and providing clear, transparent billing for services rendered. By providing consistent, reliable service year after year, a preparer turns a first-time client into a loyal, long-term partner. As we conclude, please remember that this discussion of business and marketing strategies is for informational purposes only. It is an educational overview of how professionals in the tax industry operate and should not be taken as direct business, financial, or legal advice. In summary, building a tax practice, whether inside a large firm or as a solo practitioner, depends on a combination of professional networking, a solid digital presence, and above all, a sterling reputation that generates word-of-mouth referrals. Thank you for joining us. In our next chapter, we will examine the regulatory environment, looking at the key government bodies, like the IRS Office of Professional Responsibility, that oversee tax professionals and enforce the rules of practice. Welcome back. Having explored the day-to-day work, ethical duties, and business practices of a tax preparer, it is now essential to understand the framework of rules and the governing bodies that ensure the integrity of the profession. Tax preparers do not operate in a vacuum. They are subject to a multi-layered system of oversight designed to protect taxpayers and the tax system itself. In this chapter, we will look at the key regulatory bodies that govern the practice of tax preparation in the United States.
Disclaimer: this video is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional legal, financial, or tax advice. I am not a certified public accountant, CPA, or a tax attorney. You should consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to your individual situation. Tax laws are complex and subject to change. The creator of this video or the channel will not be held liable for any actions taken based on the information provided.
At the federal level, the most important entity is the Internal Revenue Service itself, and specifically, its Office of Professional Responsibility, commonly known as the OPR. The primary mission of the OPR is to interpret and enforce the standards of practice for tax professionals. As we mentioned in a previous chapter, these standards are laid out in a Treasury Department document called Circular 230. The OPR is essentially the Internal Affairs Division for credentialed tax practitioners like enrolled agents, CPAs, and attorneys. It has the authority to investigate allegations of misconduct, such as incompetence, disreputable conduct, or willfully failing to file a client's tax return. Following an investigation, if a violation is found, the OPR can impose sanctions. These can range from a formal reprimand, to monetary penalties, to the most severe actions, suspending or permanently barring a professional from practicing before the IRS. Another fundamental aspect of IRS oversight is the requirement for all paid tax return preparers to have a Preparer Tax Identification Number, or PTIN. Before a professional can legally prepare a federal tax return for compensation, they must apply for and be issued a PTIN from the IRS. This number must be included on every return they prepare. The PTIN system functions as a national registry, allowing the IRS to track who is preparing returns and to identify individuals who may be engaging in improper or fraudulent practices. It is the baseline requirement for entry into the profession and a key tool for IRS enforcement. Beyond the broad oversight of the IRS, specific types of credentialed preparers are also regulated by other organizations. For certified public accountants, or CPAs, the primary regulatory bodies are the state boards of accountancy. Each U.S. state and territory has its own board that is responsible for licensing CPAs who practice within its jurisdiction. These boards set the rigorous educational and experience requirements needed to earn the CPA credential. They also enforce a code of professional conduct and have the authority to investigate complaints against their licensees. If a CPA is found to have acted unethically or incompetently, the state board can suspend or even revoke their license to practice, which is a career-altering event. Similarly, tax attorneys are regulated by their respective state bar associations. A lawyer cannot practice law without being admitted to the bar in their state. These bar associations establish and enforce the rules of professional conduct for all attorneys, including those who specialize in tax. They have disciplinary boards that investigate complaints from clients and the public. Just like state boards of accountancy, a state bar association has the power to discipline its members, with potential sanctions including reprimands, suspension, or disbarment, which means the loss of their license to practice law. It is important to note that this information is provided for educational purposes, to explain the regulatory structure of the tax profession. It is not legal advice and should not be interpreted as such. In summary, the tax preparation industry is not an unregulated field. It is governed by a network of oversight bodies. The IRS, through its Office of Professional Responsibility and PTIN system, sets the federal standard. In addition, state-level organizations like boards of accountancy and bar associations provide a crucial layer of licensing and disciplinary authority for CPAs and attorneys, respectively. This framework exists to ensure that tax professionals adhere to high standards of competence and ethics. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will shift our perspective and look to the future, exploring the emerging trends, technological changes, and new challenges that are shaping the tax preparation profession. Welcome back to our series. We have journeyed through the core functions, qualifications, ethics, and regulatory oversight of the tax preparation profession. Now we turn our gaze to the horizon. No profession stands still, and tax preparation is in the midst of a significant transformation. In this chapter, we will explore the key technological trends and evolving client expectations that are shaping the future of this career. The most powerful force driving change is technology, specifically in the areas of automation and artificial intelligence, or AI. For decades, tax software has automated calculations, but new advancements are pushing the boundaries much further. AI and machine learning are increasingly being used to automate data entry and organization. For instance, some systems can now scan and intelligently read a client's documents, like W-2s and 1099s, and automatically populate the relevant fields in a tax return. This has the potential to significantly reduce the amount of time preparers spend on routine, manual tasks. This shift towards automation does not necessarily signal the end of the profession. Rather, it suggests an evolution of the preparer's role. With less time spent on basic data input, professionals may have more capacity to focus on higher-value activities. This includes verification, analysis, and strategic planning. The technology can handle the what, freeing up the human expert to focus on the so what. The preparer of the future will likely spend more of their time interpreting complex situations, advising on the tax implications of financial decisions, and ensuring the automated results are accurate and make sense in the context of a client's complete financial picture. Another major technological trend is the move to the cloud. Cloud-based tax and accounting software allows for greater flexibility and collaboration. Preparers and clients can access financial data from anywhere with an internet connection. This facilitates a more continuous and interactive relationship. A client can upload documents to a secure online portal as they receive them throughout the year, rather than delivering a shoebox full of papers in March. This real-time access can help preparers be more proactive, identifying potential tax issues or planning opportunities long before the year ends. Alongside these technological shifts, client expectations are also evolving. As taxpayers become more comfortable with digital tools in all aspects of their lives, they increasingly expect a seamless, technology-driven experience from their tax professional. They look for secure digital communication, easy online document sharing, and electronic signatures. The firms and practitioners who adapt to these expectations are better positioned for success in a competitive market. Furthermore, there is a growing demand for advisory services that go beyond mere tax compliance. While filing an accurate return remains the core function, more clients are seeking forward-looking guidance. They want to understand how to structure their finances to achieve their goals in a tax-efficient manner. This is where the human element becomes more important than ever. A software program can complete a form, but it cannot sit down with a client to understand their fears about saving for retirement or their ambitions for growing their small business. The future role of the tax preparer is increasingly seen as that of a trusted advisor, a role that technology complements rather than replaces. Please remember, this discussion of future trends is based on current observations within the industry and is for informational purposes only. It is not financial or career advice and should not be treated as a definitive prediction of future events. In conclusion, the future of tax preparation appears to be one of synergy between human expertise and technological efficiency. Automation will likely handle more of the routine tasks, elevating the role of the preparer to that of a strategic advisor, who focuses on complex analysis, planning, and the essential human relationship with the client. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will explore the educational journey, detailing the specific college degrees, courses, and certifications that can prepare someone for a successful career in the tax world. Welcome back to our comprehensive overview of a career in tax preparation. In our last chapter, we looked toward the future, discussing the technological trends that are reshaping the industry. This naturally leads to a critical question. How does one prepare for a career in this dynamic field? In this chapter, we will map out the educational journey, from formal university degrees to specific training programs that build the foundation for a successful career. For many who aim for the highest levels of the profession, such as becoming a certified public accountant or a tax attorney, the journey begins with a formal university education. A bachelor's degree in accounting is arguably the most direct and common starting point. A typical accounting curriculum provides a deep understanding of the principles that govern how business transactions are recorded and reported. Students in these programs take a sequence of courses covering subjects like financial accounting, managerial accounting, auditing, and of course taxation. These taxation courses introduce the fundamentals of the U.S. tax code, covering topics like individual income, deductions, credits, and the basic principles of corporate and partnership taxation. Beyond a bachelor's degree, some individuals pursue a master's degree, either in accounting or one with a specific focus on taxation. These graduate-level programs offer a more specialized and in-depth exploration of complex tax issues. Coursework might include advanced topics such as international taxation, estate and gift tax, tax research methods, and the taxation of complex financial instruments. This advanced education is often a prerequisite for leadership roles in large accounting firms or corporate tax departments. However, a four-year university degree is not the only path into the profession. Many community colleges and vocational schools offer certificate programs or associate's degrees specifically in tax preparation. These programs are typically more condensed and focused, designed to provide students with the practical skills needed to prepare individual and small business tax returns. The curriculum often includes hands-on training with professional tax software and covers the essential tax laws and filing procedures. These programs can be an excellent entry point for individuals looking to start as a tax preparer without committing to a full bachelor's degree. Regardless of the initial educational path, the learning process is never truly complete. As we've discussed, tax laws are in constant flux. Therefore, a commitment to lifelong learning through continuing professional education, or CPE, is a requirement for maintaining most professional credentials. Enrolled agents, for example, must complete 72 hours of CAPE every 3 years, with a certain portion dedicated to ethics. Similarly, CPAs and tax attorneys must meet the continuing education requirements set by their respective state licensing boards to keep their licenses active. This ongoing education ensures that practitioners remain competent and up-to-date on the latest legal and regulatory developments. Please remember that this overview of educational paths is for informational purposes only. It is intended to describe the common routes people take into the tax profession, and should not be considered as personal career or academic advice. In summary, the educational foundation for a tax preparer can range from a focused certificate program to an advanced master's degree in taxation. The path chosen often depends on an individual's long-term career goals. But the common thread that unites all successful professionals is not just their initial education, but their career-long dedication to continuous learning. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will explore the different specializations and niche areas within the tax world, from working with international clients to focusing on the unique needs of specific industries. Welcome back. After covering the educational pathways that lead into the tax profession, it's time to explore the diverse career avenues that open up once a professional is in the field. While many preparers handle a wide range of individual tax returns, others choose to develop deep expertise in a specific niche or specialization. This allows them to serve clients with unique and often complex needs. In this chapter, we will survey some of the most common and fascinating specializations within the world of taxation. One of the largest areas of specialization is small business taxation. The tax world for a small business is vastly more complex than it is for a typical individual employee. A specialist in this area helps entrepreneurs navigate the different business structures, such as sole proprietorships, partnerships, S-corporations, and LLCs, as each has distinct tax implications. They become experts in areas like self-employment tax, payroll tax, quarterly estimated tax payments, and the wide array of business deductions, from home office expenses to the depreciation of major equipment. These professionals often act as year-round advisors, helping business owners make sense of their financial health. Another intricate field is international taxation. In our globalized world, it's common for U.S. citizens to work abroad or for foreign nationals to earn income in the United States. This creates complex tax situations. International tax specialists understand the rules for reporting foreign income, the intricacies of tax treaties between the U.S. and other countries, and how to apply for credits for taxes paid to foreign governments to avoid double taxation. They work with a diverse clientele, from corporate executives on overseas assignments to retirees living abroad. A completely different but equally important niche is serving nonprofit organizations. While these organizations are generally exempt from paying income tax, they still have significant filing requirements with the IRS, primarily through the Form 990 series. A specialist in this area understands the rules that govern nonprofits, ensuring they maintain their tax-exempt status. They work on issues such as the proper handling of donations, the distinction between program services and fundraising activities, and the regulations surrounding any unrelated business income the organization might earn. Real estate taxation is another popular specialization. The tax implications of buying, selling, and owning property are substantial. A professional in this area focuses on topics like capital gains taxes on the sale of a home or investment property, the rules for deducting mortgage interest and property taxes, and the complexities of depreciation for rental properties. They might also work with real estate investors on more advanced topics, like the tax treatment of rental income and expenses. Some professionals choose to specialize in state and local tax, often abbreviated as SALT. While much of the focus in taxation is on the federal IRS, every state has its own set of tax laws, which can differ dramatically from one another. SALT specialists are experts in navigating this patchwork of regulations. They might help a business that operates in multiple states determine how to allocate its income correctly, or they might assist an individual who moved from one state to another during the year with their filing obligations. Finally, there is the field of tax controversy. Professionals in this area specialize in representing taxpayers who have disputes with tax authorities. Their work begins when a client receives a notice from the IRS or a state agency, often regarding an audit or a proposed change to their tax liability. These specialists manage the entire process, from communicating with the tax authority and preparing documentation to representing the client in appeals. This field requires a deep knowledge of tax law, practice, and procedure. Please remember that this overview of specializations is for informational and educational purposes. It is a general description of career paths and is not intended as financial, legal, or career advice. In conclusion, the field of tax preparation is far from monolithic. It is a rich and varied profession that allows individuals to build a career focused on their specific interests, whether that means helping a local bakery manage its finances or navigating a multinational tax treaty. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will discuss the essential soft skills, beyond just the numbers, that are critical for success and career growth in the tax profession. Welcome back. In our previous chapters, we have extensively covered the technical side of the tax profession, the qualifications, the tools, the regulations, and the various specializations. However, a successful and sustainable career in this field is built on more than just technical expertise. The most respected professionals pair their knowledge with a refined set of soft skills. These are the interpersonal attributes that enable them to build trust, manage complexity, and provide outstanding service. In this chapter, we will explore the essential soft skills that separate a good tax preparer from a great one. First and foremost is communication. We touched on this in an earlier chapter, but its importance cannot be overstated. A preparer must be a master translator, capable of taking the dense, jargon-filled language of the tax code and explaining it in a way that is clear, concise, and understandable to a client who has no background in finance. This involves active listening to fully grasp a client's situation, as well as the ability to articulate the results of a tax return with clarity and empathy. Strong written communication is also vital, whether it's in an email clarifying a question or in a formal letter responding to a notice from the IRS. Closely related to communication is problem solving. At its heart, tax preparation is a form of applied problem solving. Every client's financial situation is a unique puzzle. A preparer must analyze all the pieces, the income, the expenses, the investments, the life events, and figure out how they fit together within the framework of tax law. This requires a highly analytical and inquisitive mindset. When faced with an unusual transaction or a gray area of the tax code, a skilled professional doesn't just guess. They engage in a rigorous process of research and critical thinking to arrive at a well-reasoned and defensible position. Another critical skill is time management. As we discussed in our chapter on the preparer's calendar, the tax season is a period of intense pressure with immovable deadlines. A professional must juggle the needs of dozens, or even hundreds, of clients simultaneously. This is impossible without exceptional organizational and time management skills. It involves prioritizing tasks based on urgency and complexity, creating efficient workflows to process returns, and managing client expectations about timelines. The ability to remain focused and methodical under pressure is a key determinant of success and sanity during the busiest months of the year. Integrity and ethical reasoning are the bedrock of the entire profession. Clients place their most sensitive financial information in a preparer's hands and trust them to act in their best interest while complying with the law. This requires an unwavering commitment to honesty and professional ethics. A preparer will inevitably face situations where there is pressure to bend a rule or classify an expense aggressively. A true professional relies on their ethical compass to navigate these situations, understanding that their long-term reputation and the trust of their clients are far more valuable than any short-term gain. This integrity is the foundation of the client-preparer relationship. Finally, a skill that has become increasingly important is adaptability. The world of tax is in a constant state of change. Tax laws are revised, new technologies emerge, and client expectations evolve. A successful professional must be a lifelong learner, open to new ideas and willing to adapt their methods. This means embracing new software, learning new areas of the tax code, and continually refining their skills to keep pace with the changing landscape of the profession. Please be reminded that this description of professional skills is for educational purposes and is not a form of career coaching or advice. In conclusion, while technical knowledge forms the skeleton of a tax professional's abilities, It is the soft skills, communication, problem solving, time management, integrity, and adaptability that provide the muscle and nerve, bringing the career to life and enabling true, long-term success. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will address some of the common misconceptions and myths that people have about the tax preparation profession. Welcome back to our series. Over the last 11 chapters, we have constructed a detailed picture of the tax preparation profession, from its daily tasks to its ethical standards. However, like many professions, tax preparation is often surrounded by a cloud of myths and misconceptions. These can create a skewed perception of what the job truly entails. In this chapter, we will address and debunk some of the most common myths, providing a more realistic view of this career. Myth number 1. You have to be a math genius to be a tax preparer. This is perhaps the most pervasive myth. While it's true that a preparer must be comfortable with numbers and have strong analytical skills, the job does not typically involve performing complex, high-level mathematics by hand. As we discussed in our chapter on the Professional's Toolkit, sophisticated tax software handles the vast majority of the actual calculations. The preparer's real skill lies not in doing the arithmetic, but in understanding the logic and the law behind the numbers. Their role is to ensure the correct data is entered into the correct place, and to analyze the results. It's more about critical thinking, attention to detail, and legal interpretation than it is about advanced calculus. Myth number 2. The job is just boring data entry. This misconception stems from an oversimplified view of what a tax return is. While data entry is certainly part of the process, it is only the first step. The real work involves problem solving and investigation. A preparer must analyze a client's entire financial story for the year, identify potential issues, research complex tax questions, and apply the law to a unique set of facts. For those who enjoy puzzles and seeing how different financial pieces fit together, the work can be incredibly engaging and intellectually stimulating. It is the opposite of a mindless, repetitive task. Myth number 3. Tax preparers only work for a few months a year. This is the seasonal myth. While the period from January to April is undeniably the most intense, a professional tax practice operates year-round. As we detailed in Chapter 3, the off-season is filled with critical tasks. This includes filing extensions for clients with more complex situations, which pushes their deadline to the fall. It's also the prime time for tax planning, where preparers meet with clients to strategize for the upcoming year. Furthermore, preparers spend the off-season representing clients before the IRS, responding to notices, and dedicating significant time to continuing education to stay current on new laws. The pace is different, but the work is continuous. Myth number 4. All tax preparers are the same. As we explored in Chapter 2, this is far from the truth. The profession includes a wide spectrum of individuals with varying levels of credentials and practice rights, from unenrolled preparers to enrolled agents, CPAs, and tax attorneys. Furthermore, as discussed in Chapter 10, many professionals develop deep expertise in highly specialized niches, such as international tax or nonprofit organizations. Lumping all tax preparers into one category ignores the rich diversity of expertise and service within the field. As a final reminder, this examination of the tax profession is for educational purposes only, and should not be construed as career advice or an official industry analysis. In conclusion, the reality of the tax profession is far more nuanced and dynamic than the common myths suggest. It is a field that values analytical thinking over pure mathematical genius, involves complex problem-solving far beyond simple data entry, demands year-round professional engagement, and encompasses a wide array of specialists. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will discuss the compensation and career outlook for the tax profession, providing a general overview of what one might expect in terms of salary and long-term growth. Welcome back to our series. We've delved into the daily life, the ethics, and even the common myths surrounding the tax preparation profession. A practical question that naturally arises from these discussions is about the career itself. What are the general prospects for compensation and long-term growth? In this chapter, we will provide a high-level overview of how tax professionals are compensated and the typical career outlook, based on publicly available information. First, let's discuss compensation. There is no single, standard salary for a tax preparer, as income can be structured in several ways and is influenced by many factors. In large firms or corporations, a tax professional is often a salaried employee, receiving a predictable paycheck along with benefits, just like in many other professional roles. Their salary is typically commensurate with their experience, credentials, and level of responsibility within the organization. For those who work in practices that primarily serve the public, compensation is often tied directly to the services provided. There are several common fee structures. Some preparers charge by the hour, with the rate depending on the complexity of the work. Others charge on a perform basis, where there is a base fee for a standard return, with additional charges for each extra form or schedule required. A third model is value-based pricing, where the fee is determined by the overall complexity and value of the service provided to the client, particularly in a tax planning or advisory capacity. It's important to note that the IRS prohibits preparers from charging a fee based on a percentage of the client's refund. The potential income for a tax professional is influenced by a number of key variables. Geographic location plays a role, as compensation tends to be higher in metropolitan areas with a higher cost of living. Professional credentials, such as being a CPA or an enrolled agent, can significantly impact earning potential, as they allow a professional to offer a wider range of services, including representation before the IRS. Experience is another crucial factor. A seasoned professional with a decade of experience and a strong reputation will naturally command higher fees or a larger salary than someone just entering the field. Finally, specialization in a complex, high-demand niche, like international tax, can also lead to greater compensation. Now let's turn to the career outlook. According to data and projections from government sources like the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the overall field of accounting and taxation is expected to see stable demand. While technology and automation are changing the nature of the work, the need for skilled professionals who can interpret complex tax laws and provide strategic advice remains strong. The tax code is not becoming any simpler, and as long as individuals and businesses are required to pay taxes, there will be a need for experts to help them comply. Career progression in the tax field can follow several paths. In a large accounting firm, a typical trajectory might be to start as a tax associate, move up to a senior associate, then to a manager, a senior manager, and potentially to partner. In the corporate world, one might start as a tax accountant and advance to become a tax manager, or even a director of tax for the entire company. For those in solo practice, growth is measured differently, not by titles, but by the expansion of their client base and the increasing complexity and value of the services they provide. It is essential to understand that this overview is for informational purposes only. The information presented is based on general industry data and should not be considered as personal financial advice, a guarantee of income, or career guidance. In summary, compensation for a tax professional is varied and depends on their employment model, experience, credentials, and location. The long-term career outlook appears steady, with the role evolving to place a greater emphasis on advisory skills, offering diverse paths for advancement. Thank you for listening. In our next chapter, we will explore the professional community, discussing the associations and organizations that support, advocate for, and provide resources to tax preparers. Welcome back. Throughout this series, we've focused on the individual tax preparer, their skills, their work, and their career path. However, no professional operates in isolation. They are part of a larger community that provides support, resources, and a collective voice. In this chapter, we will explore the professional organizations and associations that play a vital role in the tax preparation industry. These associations are member-based groups that serve the interests of their constituents and the profession as a whole. They perform several key functions, including advocacy, education, and networking. Let's look at a few prominent examples to understand the roles they play. For certified public accountants, the primary national organization is the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or the AICPA. The AICPA is a vast and influential body that sets ethical standards for the profession, most notably through its Code of Professional Conduct. It also plays a key role in creating and grading the Uniform CPA examination.
Disclaimer: this video is for informational and educational purposes only, and should not be considered professional legal, financial, or tax advice. I am not a certified public accountant, CPA, or a tax attorney. You should consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to your individual situation. Tax laws are complex and subject to change. The creator of this video or the channel will not be held liable for any actions taken based on the information provided.
The rigorous test that all aspiring CPAs must pass. Furthermore, the AICPA acts as a powerful advocate, representing the interests of the accounting profession before legislative bodies and regulatory agencies like the IRS. It provides its members with a wealth of resources, including continuing education, technical guidance, and industry publications. For enrolled agents, the leading organization is the National Association of Enrolled Agents, or the NEA. The NEA is dedicated specifically to the needs of EAs, who are federally licensed tax practitioners. A major focus of the NEA is government relations. It actively lobbies Congress and the IRS on issues that affect tax administration and the rights of taxpayers. The organization also provides high-quality continuing education to help its members meet their IRS-mandated requirements and stay on the cutting edge of tax law. Through its national conferences and local state chapters, it fosters a strong sense of community and provides valuable networking opportunities for its members. Another major organization, open to a broader range of tax professionals including unenrolled preparers, CPAs and attorneys, is the National Association of Tax Professionals, or the NATP. The NATP is heavily focused on providing practical support for tax preparers in their daily work. One of its most valued services is its research support, where members can get assistance with complex tax questions from a team of in-house experts. The NATP offers extensive educational resources, including workshops, online courses, and publications, all designed to enhance the knowledge and competence of tax practitioners. It also has a strong focus on building local connections through a nationwide network of state chapters. These are just a few examples, and there are many other valuable organizations that serve the tax professional community. The common thread among them is their commitment to empowering their members and upholding the integrity of the profession. They provide a platform for professionals to connect with their peers, share knowledge, and solve common problems. They are the primary providers of the continuing education that is essential for maintaining credentials and staying competent in an ever-changing field. Please be reminded that this overview of professional associations is for informational purposes only. It is not an endorsement of any specific organization or a form of career advice. In essence, these professional organizations form the backbone of the tax community. They provide the educational resources, ethical guidance, and collective advocacy that help individual practitioners succeed, and that maintain public trust in the profession as a whole. Thank you for listening. In our final chapter, we will bring everything together, summarizing the key takeaways from our series, and offering a concluding perspective on the vital role of the tax preparer in the U.S. financial system. Welcome, for the final time, to our comprehensive overview of the tax preparer's career in the United States. Over the past 14 chapters, we have journeyed deep into this profession, seeking to understand its complexities, its challenges, and its fundamental importance. In this concluding chapter, we will bring together the key themes we've explored to form a complete picture of the vital role the tax professional plays. We began by defining the preparer as a translator and a navigator, a professional who guides individuals and businesses through the intricate landscape of tax law. We quickly learned that this role is far more than simple data entry. It is a profession of analysis, problem-solving, and strategic application of a complex legal code. We explored the diverse spectrum of professionals, from unenrolled preparers to federally licensed enrolled agents, state-licensed CPAs, and tax attorneys, each with unique qualifications and practice rights. We painted a picture of the preparer's year, contrasting the high-intensity sprint of the busy season with the equally critical, though less frantic, off-season dedicated to extensions, planning, and education. We looked inside their digital toolkit, recognizing the power of specialized software for accuracy and the necessity of research databases for navigating the ever-shifting tax laws. We also highlighted the non-negotiable importance of data security in protecting clients' most sensitive information. Beyond the technical aspects, we emphasized the human element. We saw that success is built on a foundation of trust, fostered through clear communication, empathy, and above all, an unwavering commitment to professional ethics, as outlined in regulations like Treasury Department Circular 230. We also examined the business of taxes, how professionals build their practices on a reputation for excellence, which in turn generates the most powerful form of marketing, word-of-mouth referrals. We demystified the profession by debunking common myths, clarifying that the job requires analytical thinking more than mathematical genius, and involves year-round engagement, not just seasonal work. We provided a general overview of the career itself, noting that compensation and advancement are influenced by factors like credentials, experience, and specialization. Finally, we recognized that preparers are not alone, but are supported by a robust community of professional associations that provide education, advocacy, and a framework for ethical conduct. If there is one central theme to take away from our entire series, it is this: the tax preparer is an essential navigator in our financial system. They are charged with upholding the integrity of a complex system while simultaneously helping their clients navigate it legally and effectively. It is a profession that demands a unique blend of technical mastery and human insight, of intellectual rigor and profound ethical responsibility. As we conclude, it is imperative to restate the purpose of this series one last time. All of the information presented across all 15 chapters has been for educational and informational purposes only. This series was designed to provide a general overview of a profession and should not, under any circumstances, be construed as financial, investment, legal, tax, or career advice. For guidance on your specific circumstances, you should always consult with a qualified and licensed professional. Thank you for joining us on this comprehensive journey into the world of the tax preparer. We hope this series has provided you with a clearer and more complete understanding of this vital and dynamic profession.
Disclaimer: this video is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional legal, financial, or tax advice. I am not a certified public accountant, CPA, or a tax attorney. You should consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to your individual situation. Tax laws are complex and subject to change. The creator of this video or the channel will not be held liable for any actions taken based on the information provided.